G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to Hellion with Mags. It's been a hell of a long time since I've covered this. This is a space survival game that has been in development for about a year and a half at this point in time. I covered it about a year ago when it first went into early access and had a fantastic time with it, but we're jumping back into it today to see exactly what has changed. And first impressions are...
Can anyone hear me?
Oh, we have audio logs.
This is Fiona Myers, First Officer of Daedalus. Not that that matters anymore.
Suit.
But if you can hear me, I need you to trust me. The station you're in is about to fall from orbit, and you don't have much time, so grab your gear and head to the command module. You should be able to call for a rescue ship.
Whoops. Yeah, so this is a space survival sim with a full Newtonian environment, barring a couple of areas where there are concessions made to gameplay, such as anti-gravity in some modules, and then this is a no gravity here. Alright, going to brace against the wall. Helmet is closed. And there goes all the oxygen. And this section of the ship is fairly knackered. Or the station is fairly knackered. Anyways, as I was saying, Hellion is a space survival game with a full Newtonian environment. The planets all have rotational periods, they have their own orbits, all of the derelicts that you will have to discover, that you can find resources within, as well as the asteroids that you'll have to mine, and potentially find new components for your space stations, fully modelled with their orbits. They has decaying orbits. It's essentially all the fun of Kerbal Space Program within a survival environment. However, instead of punching trees in order to get thatch to build a building, or having to chow down on a steak every 5 minutes, the resources you have to manage here are power, air, which comes in its base form, so you'll have oxygen, you'll have nitrogen, and so on. You'll have to manage the amounts and use oxygen generators to mix them, and fuel. Now, fuel comes in a couple of forms as well. You need RCS fuel for your ships, you need main engine fuel for your ship's engines, and the other concession that goes into the game is the warp drives. You have through here.
Regular access codes don't work anymore, and that's my fault, sorry, but there should be a hacking tool somewhere. Just try to look around.
Through there. Got these. There we go. So this is obviously the tutorial at the moment. This is entirely new for me. This didn't exist the last time I actually looked at Hellion. Right, we should... There we go. Door is hacked. And this should be a 0G tunnel. Yep. Okay, so we can RCS up. So yeah, fuel in the form of main fuel for your engines, fuel in the form of for your RCS thrusters, as well as warp coils or warp fuel sources. The warp drive in Hellion is based on some of the realistic proposals for a warp drive that were put forward by NASA a while back. It is more of a super powerful engine. In these colours, no. More of a super powerful engine that you can pre-program a course for, and the warp drive will just allow your ship to perform a maneuver that could potentially completely change its orbit in a very drastic manner, without having to wait for a time delay. Alright, so let's pull our ship.
It'll take a few minutes for the ship to get there, but it will get there. It's Altcorp, after all. They're the only good thing that ever happened in Hellion. Had we put them in charge, we could have probably avoided this entire mess. Anyway, head outside. Just make sure you have enough oxygen. The ship probably won't have any.
Well, that's going to be charming. Ship with no oxygen. I'm pausing on each of these audio logs because this is an entirely new part to the game. What we're seeing here, when I originally covered Hellion, all that existed was the multiplayer environment, and it was fairly bare bones at the time. However, this is the new single player mode. Now, the single player is much like the single player in other survival games such as Ark. You don't actually have to play the single player in single player. You can invite other players to come in for co-op. It's just not an open server setup as it would be in the multiplayer component for the game. Now, the story for Hellion is told entirely through these audio logs, and it's uncovering exactly what the hell happened in this star system. The basic storyline is that humanity has reached the point where we can finally travel to a new star, and we want to colonize a new star system, expand our horizons as it were. Now this was to be done in 2 stages. The first stage was to send a bunch of sleeper ships to a star of our choice, in this case, Hellion. And these original first wave of colony ships were intended to build space stations, infrastructure and logistics, everything that would be needed to inhabit the Hellion system in a long-term manner. However, something happened. Your character is supposed to be in the second wave, the colonists themselves that arrived in Hellion to take control of this infrastructure once it's been built. However, it's all been destroyed. The space stations are crippled and in decaying orbits, or they're shattered and flying through space. The entire star system is hostile, so what you need to do is find the resources, scavenge and salvage the components from these space stations or these derelicts in order to build yourself a home base, to fuel it and fill it up with the resources you need to survive, and then explore the Hellion system and all of its planets in order to find out what the hell actually happened and how it got to this state. And in the long term, find out how the hell to get home. And grab. There we go. Alright, 0 bar, so no internal pressure. Open the outer door. So no air on the ship at all, although we were warned about that, so that's not overly surprising. Get ourselves the right way up. 0 gravity in this room.
So you have to check the power supply and the warp drive. Oh wait, but to gain access, you'll have to register first. There's a security panel on the bridge.
Alright. So I've used these before. These are used in multiplayer to claim a ship as your property. So that's it there. And claim. Alright, so ship's claimed. Change name, change ship emblem. Wonder what emblems I've got in here. Wonder if mine will be in this lineup anywhere. Nope. New Zealand flag, not an Australian one. Test Squadron has a logo in here. That's kind of cool. And that one looks like the X Universe. What's this? Oh, it's a wolf head. It's interesting. Kind of disappointed that my logo doesn't come up in the list. I'd rather do that one. I won't give the ship's name here. Let me know in the comment section down below what I should actually call this ship. Alright, so next objective is to turn on the power. So I'm going to auto open, and here we go. Alright. And deploy the solar panels. I'm surprised we have to do this actually, considering we called this ship in, so you'd think it would already be powered up. And solar panels are open, and that should be... No, turn on the power. There we go. Okay, power is now on. And yeah, while I'm thinking about it, let's close up the doors. As much as we don't have any atmosphere to contain at this point, it's probably best if we close up the ship doors before we start flying around. And into the pilot seat. Alright, so search the derelict. Alright, so that's the station we just escaped from. We got a nav marker up here, and I reckon this will be the... Yeah, this is the items we spotted in the distance when we were leaving the station before. So we'll close in on these. 3 meters a second at the moment. We're 100% on RCS, 100% on power, 100% on hull. Main engines are down. This is going to take a while. You don't want to go too fast, because much like in a real spacecraft, if you want to apply enough thrust to get up to 40, 50, 100 meters per second, the ship will do it. That's not a problem. But you've got to apply the same amount of thrust in order to slow down. And if you hit something while at these speeds, you will pancake. Alright. Almost there. 70 meters. A little bit down. Alright, we're almost in position. 36. Just want to get it in nice and close before we match the target. And there we go. Okay, so we are now matched to this object. The thrusters are fired, so we should stay in perfect station keeping with it. There we go. We should be nice and aligned to it. Should make it easier to navigate around. Okay. Let's go and find out what we're supposed to be finding on board this derelict. I can see what the tutorial is going to put you through this, because this is the bread and butter of Hellion. Finding and discovering derelict space station or spacecraft components in space and then scavenging them for whatever you can find. Sometimes the derelicts you find will be recoverable, so you can use the massive arm on the back of this ship to tow the derelict to your spacecraft or to your space station. You can fix it up and then attach it and expand your space station that way. Or alternatively, sometimes they're wrecked like this one is, and you just want to find out whatever resources are useful inside of it and take them. Because every single piece of resource or every single resource you can collect in Hellion is incredibly important. Alright. Slip through the door here. Pick up the warp cell. Yeah, I sort of guessed that was probably the reason to come here. Get a warp cell so we can actually power up the warp drive and move to wherever the game wants us to go to next. But that doesn't mean in the warp cell, just taking my time here so we don't hit anything hard, is the only thing to collect. So we're going to take a look around the rest of this derelict and see what else we can find. And oxygen cylinder there. Nothing down in those storage bins, I don't think. No, it looks pretty empty. Let's... Hellion is one of the few games where I've actually gone for my sunglasses every time I'm looking into the sun in order to be able to see. It's done a really good job of creating that star. And those are magazines. Much like most multiplayer survival games, combat is a major aspect. However, unlike most, you can't build any of the weapons or build the ammunition in Hellion. You have to find it all. So, bullets are as valuable... Oh, hello. That... If I just grab myself and stabilize here. That's a resource canister. We want that. Stupid sun. Yeah, as I was saying, the bullets are as valuable as any other resource because finding weapons isn't hugely difficult. Finding specialist weapons can be difficult, so say finding a pistol or a rifle is not hard. Finding a sniper rifle, on the other hand, can be incredibly difficult, but actually keeping enough ammunition to engage in... Stupid sun. Engage in long-term combat is actually quite the challenge in this, simply because of the rarity. And nothing around the end of the airlock. As much as it looks like it's got power, and I'm still not entirely sure how that's a thing. We'll check these drawers and see. Nothing. And nothing. And the shelves look pretty empty as well. So we got a oxygen canister, the warp coil, which is part of the tutorial, a resource canister, and a whole bunch of magazines. We have no weapons yet, but we've got a magazine. It's not a horrible haul. Can I time this spin? And left-hand side, yep, around here. Orientation is something you've got to constantly keep in mind. When maneuvering around on the RCS packs while you're in space as well, exactly the same as in spacecraft. You can go very, very, very fast in these suits. As fast as you want to thrust, the faster you'll accelerate. Nothing is stopping you. However, if you want to stop, you're going to have to put on the same amount of force. And it's entirely possible to get up enough speed that you will... just going to make sure I don't fall on my head there. There we go. That, yeah, you can splat against something that's nice and solid. Alright, where is... There's the warp coil. So put the warp coil here.
You need to find a safe place. Check the nav map, look for an outpost or something. Anything with a stable orbit will do.
Okay.
Okay, listen. I know you're not a pilot or a navigator, but right now, you have to be both. You need to set up and execute a warp maneuver. It might look complicated at first, but you'll see. It basically comes down to tweaking the departure and arrival times until the warp line turns green. Then just point the ship in the right direction. It's not that hard once you get a hang of it. I trust you'll manage.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I will manage. Alright, so let's get ourselves the hell out of here. So it wants us to warp to this outpost. We can see the orbital period for where we are at the moment. It's going to crash into the gas giant, so we're still up there, so it's fine. And this, 52 seconds, 50 seconds to activation, time to arrival 4 minutes and 48 seconds. It's going to consume a fair old chunk of the capacitor. That seems to be fine. I don't think we need to adjust this at all. But generally you would move the target point on the orbit that you want to jump to, and you would adjust the time that you actually want to make the jump in order to calibrate. Alright, maneuver initiated. So we flick back over here and we should get a nav point. And all we've got to do...
Okay. Once you're in a stable orbit, you'll be on your own. And this is all I can do for you. Look, Hellion is not what you thought it would be, or what any of us hoped for. I can't even begin to explain how it all went wrong. I'm not even sure if all of this is real, or just some crazy dream that I can't wake up from.
Yeah.
Or even if it's
12.5, 20 oxygen, nitrogen. Nice.
Yeah,
this...
well just be imagining things.
Our guardian angel here seems to be suffering for some pretty serious problems here at the moment.
Focus, Leona.
I get the sneaking suspicion there might not be too much oxygen left in her gas tanks.
Search for my logs. It's all in there. You might be able to figure out what happened. To do what I couldn't. Perhaps even find us a way out of this. This is, or at least I think I am, Fiona Myers, First Officer of Daedalus, signing off.
Okay, yeah, I think she hasn't got quite as much oxygen in those, the tanks wherever she is to go with the nitrogen she's got at the moment. She, sounds like she's pretty messed up. But anyways, this is what I was talking about earlier on with the warp. You can see our orbital path, or what our orbital path would be should the warp cancel. And the warp is simply allowing us to change to a vastly different orbit at a high speed, but it still does respect the orbit itself. And what it's going to try and do is match the orbit of our target once we actually arrive. And I should also point out on this map, if you've got the larger spacecraft, which has a large, sort of like a more traditional, I think it's actually fission-based, but a more traditional chemical-style engine, you can actually do burns, Kerbal Space Program style, to set up complex transfers between planets, even using, gravity slingshots off of moons in order to be able to make the transfer. And if you've got enough resources, it is entirely possible to plot a course that will take you out of one planet and transfer you to another planet in real time without actually using the warp engine at all, which is one of the coolest parts about this game. I really do love it. This is about as close as we have ever gotten, and probably ever will get to, an Expanse video game. And I also love the fact that almost by default you're playing as the Belters. Anyways, ladies and gents, I'm going to cut this one off here. I'm probably going to do one more video with it and tidy up the rest of the tutorial just to take a little bit of a look. Let me know in the comment section down below, however, if you'd like to see more of this on the channel. I know a couple of other people that play, and we could probably put together something multiplayer, a little bit larger scale, potentially even open up a server that you yourself can join. And on that note, I'm actually going to put a couple of codes for Hellion, for those that are interested in actually taking a look at it, right here at the end of the video. So anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you've enjoyed this one. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, remember to click that like button, share and subscribe if you would like to see more. And until next time, fly smart, fly safe, and I will catch you in the skies.